When Spaniard Rafael Nadal took home his 8th French Open title on Sunday in Paris, he became the first man to ever win any of the 4 Grand Slams 8 times. Now, several female players have won the same Grand Slam at least that many times. Martina Navratilova has 9 Wimbledons. But where does he rank in the annals of tennis history? Because last March, Tennis Channel did a list of the 100 greatest tennis players of all time. And this was male and female. And their top 10 men of all time look like this. Bill Tilden was number 10. Jimmy Connors was number 9. John McEnroe was 8th. Andre Agassi was 7th. Don Budge was 6th. Bjorn Borg was 5th. Nadal was 4th. Pete Sampras was 3rd. Rod Laver was 2nd. And Federer was 1st. Now, I agree with Federer as number 1. He's the greatest tennis player I believe has ever picked up a racket. But Rafael Nadal now has 12 majors. He's tied with Australian Roy Emerson, and he trails only Pete and Roger on the all-time list. But people are probably going to wonder what his place in tennis history is. And I think right now, the 4th best male player of all time, I think that's a perfect spot for him right now. The 4th greatest male tennis player. Because look at what he's done since 2005. Since 2005, he's won 12 majors. So it took him 9 years, counting 2005, 2013, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, to get 12 majors. There were a few years where he won only French Opens, but, the last 4 or 5 years, he's established himself as a contender on every surface. He's adapted to grass much better than any of the other Spaniards have ever adapted to it. He's adapted to the hard court better than anybody, particularly at the U.S. Open. The fast hard court, he's adapted better than any of the Spaniards. A lot of people are going to say that he's eventually going to be the greatest tennis player of all time, and I don't know, because he's going to win a few more French Opens. That's a given. He's going to win at least 2 or 3. So that'll vault his total of 15. But I don't know if he's going to win another major on a different surface, and I've got a few reasons why. Number 1 is his knees. We saw last year, missing the last half of the year, what his knees really went through on the hard courts, Because by the time the Wimbledon was over, 2012 Wimbledon was over, he was completely gassed for the year. He couldn't play another match because his knees were so screwed up. And you look at what other players have done. Federer won Wimbledon. Murray took the U.S. Open. Djokovic defended his Australian Open. I think those players right now on the other surfaces are just that much better than he is right now. So I don't know what the future holds for him in winning other majors. In terms of Frenches, he's going to win a few more, absolutely. But I'm not really sure what the future holds for him in terms of the other tournaments. I said that in February that Nadal had not played. It was right before his comeback, and I think it was right after his comeback. He lost that final in Buenos Aires to Horacio Zeballos, that lefty Argentine, who has never done anything since or before. That he would never win a tournament on hard court again. A tournament, not just a major hard court. He goes right down to Indian Wells, blasts through the draw, and wins the Masters event out in Indian Wells. So that proved me wrong. I knew he was going to win at least another French, so him winning on Sunday in Paris for his 8th title didn't shock me. But I still don't know what the future holds for him on the other surfaces, because I think the hard courts beat up his knees too much. I think not playing the Australian Open was a good thing for him, and only playing, I think, one of the hardcourt Masters events because he didn't have a chance to really get any wear and tear in his body. His place in tennis history is also kind of curious, because if you take away all the top 5 players, in tennis history, according to male players, according to Tennis Channel. They take away their best major, what they did their best major. You take away Federer's 7 Wimbledons, he's still got 10 majors. You take what Rod Laver did at Wimbledon. He's still got 7 out of his 11. You take away Pete's 7 Wimbledons, he's still got 7 majors. You take away Bjorn's 6 French Opens, he's still got 5 Wimbledons, And he was in the final of the U.S. Open 4 times. You take away Rafael Nadal's 8 French Opens, he's only got 4 majors. So his success rate at the other majors has not been very good. Yes, he's been in finals. Yes, he's won them all. But if you seriously look at when it comes down to it, other than the French Open, where he doesn't have his little security blanket, aka the red clay, he's been very average. Because guys like Djokovic have beaten him. Murray's beaten him. Federer's beaten him on other surfaces. And he's even lost to some other guys. David Ferrer's beaten him a couple times on hard courts and majors. James Blake. Look on the grass. Lucas Rosol beat him. Robin Soderling. He's lost some big matches in majors. That would suggest that, if he's not in his beloved red clay at the French Open, yeah, he's still one of the best players in the world, but there's a very, very much less of a chance he's going to win home the title. You look at Federer. If Federer does not have Rafael Nadal to beat him at the French Open, you look at how many years that Federer would have won it. Because if you look at 2005 when he lost to Nadal in the semis, he would have played Mariano Puerta in the final. That's a win. You look at the other 3-4 years he lost to Nadal, were finals. Federer would have 22 Grand Slam titles if he didn't lose. 22, 23 Grand Slam titles if Nadal doesn't exist. I mean, you look at even Pete Sampras, other than grass, on the grass on the hard court, he was still a top-notch player, and he contended for every major he was in when he was on a grass, when it was on a hard court. Clay, not so much. What I'm trying to say is that even though Nadal has adapted remarkably well to the other surfaces, and he's really, really made an impact on grass and hard court, particularly the fast hard court, I still don't think he's really going to... I still think that, it's going to be tough for me to label him the greatest of all time. Because I don't see him winning another hard court major or winning a Wimbledon again. I think he only is going to win French Opens. Yes, he may pass Pete Sampras and get to 15 Grand Slams. But I still suspect he's going to run out of steam much earlier than Federer will. Because I think Federer's got another 2 left in him. Particularly at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, where the hard courts are fast and the grass is still his best surface. So I look at Nadal's legacy as, he might pass Pete on the list of the greatest players of all time. But right now, I think 4th is where he's ultimately going to end up when his career's over.